And after a very long hiatus, welcome back to another episode of the Melanie and Ben Show. Sorry we're only pumping these out about once a month, but I guess life gets in the way. Life finds a way, though. And as Jeff Goldblum would say. But yeah, so we're back again with yet another episode of bitching and complaining about the U.S. Supreme Court. About local politics too, I suppose.
Let's face it, we needed a little vacation. That's why it's been so long.
Yeah. I'm the host, one of the hosts, Ben, and I'm here with the other host.
It's Melanie over here.
We have been talking a lot lately about changing the name here. We haven't done anything officially yet, but I think that we're probably going to do that at this point. What do you say, Melanie?
I definitely.
Okay.
I think once we're done with recording this, probably you will see the name change.
We have some different ideas. Let me just turn up the record volume here. Okay. We had some different ideas. I actually have been tossing one around. The origins of it go back to like the 2016 election. I was actually thinking about starting like a YouTube channel or something back then, but I never did. But anyway, I like the name of it would be Red State Blues, as in red state, because Michigan turned into a red state for like the first time in my entire life. Which is crazy. Not the first time, but the first time since like the 80s. At the same time, blues, obviously, being like blues equaling Democrats / blues being, sad music.
That's right.
So I think that we might change the name to Red State Blues. We're going to see how easy that is. We figured that like we could change the name if we don't have obviously a shit ton of subscribers or anything like that. So we thought it'd be pretty easy to just annoy everybody right now and just see if we can change the name without actually having to like start a whole podcast over.
Yeah.
But we'll see how well this works. So we'll see if we could just edit the podcast feed and everything, the RSS feed and everything like that, and just see if it'll just let us update it. If not, maybe we'll be just sticking with the Ben and Melanie Show. I don't know. We'll see. So I don't know. I sound so horribly indecisive because I just hate to fuck up the whole feed. I love the name. I love the new name. Red State Blues. I think you like it.
Yeah,
too.
I totally like it.
Yeah, but I just hate to fuck up our whole thing here,
if we're gonna screw it up though, now is the time, because we only have 5 people listening anyways.
Basically, like, so it's like now, like, it's not like we're gonna mess up a whole shit ton of stuff.
Excuse the heavy breathing too, by the way. I have a cold and I am having issues, so I'm sorry. Maybe listen to it and I sound terrible. Yeah, you're like I sound like Darth Vader.
No. No, you sound like a stalker, dude. Yeah. Like he's like on the phone. Like, hi.
Oh my gosh, yes.
How are you? Anyway, so we haven't done a podcast in quite a while, so
might as well have fun with it.
We'll be doing this now. What was it gonna say? What we were gonna talk about today?
Well,
I was gonna say lots and lots of things have happened. I've been listening to more episodes. I highly recommend the Strict Scrutiny podcast. It's great. It has a bunch of lawyer people on it that are amazing, and that were all like former clerks and actually are very, very familiar with the Supreme Court. They're awesome. A group of ladies. They really know their shit, and that's basically what I've been doing, is listening to way too many legal things lately.
It's like the more you know, the more scared you are.
Yeah, it is depressing, actually. It is. That's true. Like, the more I listen to the legal type podcast stuff or just read about it, the more messed up I'm like, ooh, yeah, we're like going back in time now. Like every year now, we're going back a decade or two here from the legal perspective. I mean, hell, it's like only a matter of time before we just like, undo the Civil War or something. It feels like I just like I don't know. I mean, it just that's the take that I'm getting from it, from these like legal professors and stuff like that. Like things are bad in the court system currently. Judges are highly motivated. The judges that have been appointed by Trump, the Trump administration, are highly motivated to change the country back to what they perceive to be a better time. I don't know exactly when that better time was, the 50s or something?
Yeah.
A better time for white men.
Before then, maybe.
A better time for white men, anyway.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's
totally
goes without saying. I mean, like, that's obviously their goal when the, men were men and whatever. I don't know. But they're doing it, yeah.
The whole argument for states' rights feels to me like it is a Civil War argument. Because I think that wasn't that part of the argument for slavery? Was states' rights over federal rights? So now we're going down this pathway again, and I'm afraid one day I'm going to wake up and it's going to be segregation and women can't vote. I mean, and that's not a joke either. I mean, if you listen to the lawyers, you should be worried.
Yeah. Now the segregation thing is going to come to a head. It does feel at some point. It doesn't seem to be completely like it just seems like it seems unfathomable at one point. At some point, but it does seem like, no, man, like they could easily just undo that court case.
Yep.
Brown v. Board of Education, right? Mm-hmm. And that's it. Segregation will be back wherever people want it. Not that it's going to be back everywhere. Again, they'll just leave it up to individual municipalities, individual states, right? And it's kind of like insane to think about. I've been hearing in the latest podcast I listened to, it was kind of like they were mentioning there's an activist on there, and he called himself an abolitionist. An activist lawyer who's a leader of a group, but I think that's great. Actually, I feel like that we need to start calling ourselves abolitionists again. Like that is like we are standing up for the 13th and 14th Amendments. You know what I mean? We believe in like the freedom of everybody to be able to just have freedom. And that's abolitionism. Right there.
Right.
And that they should not be able to take that away through segregation, through restrictive voting rules, through all kinds of things that are being attempted, it feels.
Yeah, because I feel like that's at the heart of it. I mean, even if you watch videos of Republican rallies and things, and you'll see, rebel flags along with Trump flags in people's yards and stuff, I think that may be an underlying thing, even if the supporters don't realize it. But that's what it really comes down to, is undoing of the unitedness of our states.
Right. Actually, I totally agree with you, yeah. I'm not saying, again, I think I want to be clear that I don't blame all Republicans for this. I feel like this is very much a top-down phenomenon. It's not a grassroots phenomenon. Like, it's coming from organizations like this Federalist Society that claim to have 60,000 members and all this stuff like that, but they're making it so, like, if you want to get somewhere in the legal profession, as a conservative anyway, you're going to have to join their group and go along with what they want.
Right.
Which definitely was overturning Roe v. Wade. And that obviously was able to happen. And then obviously, I think in the end, their goal is to just bring us back to the 50s when segregation was just legal, I guess. And what they call constitutional originalism, what the original... It's not even like what we want to interpret the Constitution as. This is what they believe the original document is supposed to mean to the people who wrote it or whatever. So I guess if that means like all people other than white people are not equal, that's what they believe.
Or women.
That still, like, that would violate the 13th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, the 15th Amendment, like all those, after the Civil War period. But still, it's that's there's only so much they can do. But they could try to twist things in a way, I feel.
Which they are doing, because the court is not even going on their own precedents of cases they have heard previously. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's basically interpret it whatever way they want. Like,
Yeah.
We don't want Roe v. Wade, which is basically about privacy rights, people, not just about abortion, but it was based on privacy rights.
Mm-hmm.
But it's okay for interracial marriage because Clarence Thomas. So it's just like, it's whatever way they want to twist the rope.
Totally.
Basically.
Yeah.
The other thing, too, that goes along with this, do you remember the name of the case that's coming up in November sometime this fall? It was the Supreme Court that's about voting rights. Not rights. Voting in states, switching the federal, something to do with the federal vote. Do you remember how that vote went? But it's very dangerous, and basically it would give the power of the states. The states would hold power over our elections, our federal elections.
Oh, yeah. Right. I think I do remember something about that, and that's completely insane. Mm-hmm. So, especially in a lot of states where they would want to restrict voting, yeah.
Because what would happen is all these lawsuits, like after Trump lost and they were challenging the vote and stuff, if the individual states had control over the elections like that, then when those cases would come up, if, say, they were a blue state, then they could just say, well, all those other votes don't count now. We're going to say it was, Biden. And then a red state could say, no, we're throwing out all the blue votes. It's Trump. So basically, whatever state you're in could end up staying in Republican power or Democratic power, depending on the state, because of the not having federal oversight over elections. I mean, it should be not
they'll just
partisan.
let the legislatures essentially decide who. They're basically giving ultimate power to state legislatures, not the state governors, and then not the people in the state really either. They're just letting, and I think that's technically allowed. I mean, they could, because each state is technically, they probably could decide for themselves how they want to count their votes. So they could just decide, oh, this state's going Republican. We're the state legislature. We don't give a shit who voted how and what, how many votes there were.
Yep.
They definitely can do that. They should not have that legal authority to do that, but I think the Supreme Court's definitely going to side with them.
Yep.
And it's just messed up.
It's just then what? They're also they took the legs out from the EPA. They're trying to take the legs out of all the government agencies and say they don't have the power to do things that they do. That they regulate things. They don't want regulations or anything. So basically, we're watching right now in our lifetimes the undoing of democracy.
Well, the undoing of the New Deal.
The
whole goal has been to undo the New Deal.
Yeah.
It's not to even really undo. Well, it's to undo democracy for some, not for others.
Yeah.
It depends on if
white
you're
landed gentry.
If you're in the in club.
Men people.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's not to undo democracy entirely. But they want. I feel like that's the goal. Is they want a system that just is. It's like the robber baron time period. They want the robber baron time period to come back when the government just would roll over and get bribed and the government would give the railroad people and the gold miners and everybody everything they wanted to just exploit whatever resources they wanted. Watch Deadwood. That's basically a great example, right?
Yeah, which is kind of the fear with the EPA thing. Because
there's just no difference between corporations and the government, essentially. Right. There's a difference between the mafia, corporations, and the government. They're all the same people.
Right.
The organized crime and the government, and they're all built in together. I mean, you could watch. Deadwood is a great example of that. I think that another HBO show, Boardwalk Empire, was actually a pretty good example of that, at least for the time in the 1920s, how the government was pretty much just completely interlinked with organized crime. They really were kind of one and the same, for large periods of time up until, the government, up until Franklin Roosevelt, really, up until till the Depression. Tell Roosevelt, they just started saying, no way, we're not going to, till the alphabet agencies started coming on the scene, the FBI, the IRS, all those different agencies. They started, taking a prisoner's approach to, bribery and criminals and stuff. So
they're trying to peel those back so there's none of that anymore.
Yeah, they're trying to get rid of the civil servant class in a way. It does seem like that, which would be impossible almost. Or at least make them corrupt, That's definitely a goal, I feel. Anyway.
Yeah, it's like they want the definite two-class system, the workers and then the landed gentry.
They would rather just have entrepreneurs, and they wouldn't say landed gentry, they would say, the entrepreneurs, people with entrepreneurial spirit, who can go make things happen and build things and mine things and do things, you know what I mean, and then all their workers. And that's really it. That's like the perfect
that's
society.
Why the middle class
that's libertarianism.
Yeah.
That's libertarianism in a nutshell, right?
Yep.
Like that would be their perfect world. No laws, no regulations, and they would take, in their minds, good care of their workers in a situation like that. They would need no unions, because they would be benevolent overlords, which never, ever has happened in the history of ever. Yeah, we would just end up with child labor sweatshops, and it would just be god-awful. Yeah, we would just end up with slavery, essentially, really, too. Yeah, or at least slavery in name. So I feel like, anyway... That's quite a tangent we're off on here, man.
It's our show. We can do it.
Yeah, I know. Jesus, like we're going all day about this.
Yeah,
but
people don't
doom and gloom.
I don't think people think about these things.
People don't think about the great strides that unions made, and progressive. Frankly, Franklin Roosevelt. Frankly, progressive rich people. Like, because he was an elite, you know what I mean? But some of the people of the elites can be good, right? And he was able to make other elites see, hey, the whole country will prosper if we have a solid middle class, a solid foundation, That's and I don't know how. Actually, I think that some of them they hated him. A lot of them hated him. Right? But I think that he was able to convince enough to change the United States anyway for the better. But
yep, it's like inflation too. Like inflation's so high right now, and like it's like the companies forgot if they raise prices so high and wages are so low, the people can't buy a car anymore.
What is inflation? They're just deciding to raise prices.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. It's not an arbitrary thing that just happens.
It just has to happen.
It's because they're making it happen.
No, it's because like a company wants more money now, and they're making it happen because they perceive that everybody else has shit tons of money or something laying around.
Not only that
they're just but that's not true. But
the whole short supply thing is BS too, because they can impact that. A company can impact that. They can slow it down if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Well, we're not going to pay that contractor anymore.
Well, they can.
And then they're like, well, we're not going to move your goods.
I think what's happening now largely is they're moving production back to the United States in many, many cases because the supply chain problems are so bad.
Which relates back to the EPA air thing, a clean air thing.
It's going to be more expensive to produce things here, but it's worth it if we can actually get the items.
It's only worth it if it doesn't involve making Lake Erie set on fire again.
Well, no, but I agree. But I mean, that's why I have to have faith.
Yeah.
That the EPA is not going to be destroyed.
I hope not.
You know what I mean? And that there's people that actually give a shit. So, with that, I just need to take a little break, and we'll be back.
So, in more disappointing fallout from the Supreme Court Roe v. Wade decision, is a medication called methotrexate. And this medication is used for rheumatoid and psoriatic arthritis, Hodgkin lymphoma, but is also used for when a woman gets an ectopic pregnancy, which basically means egg gets fertilized inside of the fallopian tube. And what it does, methotrexate can prevent embryonic cell growth, which eventually terminates an ectopic pregnancy to prevent fallopian tubes from being irreversibly damaged and the health of the mother. So now, in many states, even in states where they don't have the trigger laws that went into effect, some pharmacies that just don't believe in abortion can say, I'm not going to fill that medication. There's been notes out from people's rheumatologists asking, or telling their patients they are no longer going to prescribe methotrexate anymore. And methotrexate is considered also like a chemotherapy drug, but if it's a low enough dose over a long period of time, it can help a lot of people with autoimmune diseases. And I myself have an autoimmune disease called psoriatic arthritis, and that was one of the first medications they put me on. And this is devastating for people because if they can't get the medications, and often with autoimmune diseases, they have to take multiple different medications to get their disease under control, because otherwise your own immune system is attacking your body and breaking it down, basically.
I never have heard of this until you mentioned it. This is amazing, actually. I can't believe the wide scale. I never would have thought in a million years this would have affected you, like through something like this. The wide scale after effects of something from the Roe v. Wade or from the Dobbs decision, I guess now they're calling it. From the Dobbs decision that overturned Roe v. Wade, so now it's the Dobbs decision. So that's just insane. Now, is this going to depend on each state, though? That was my question. Actually, is each state going to be able to make their own rules? Is some states produce it, or
I think it's up in the air right now, but it's so much of a problem across the United States that the Arthritis Foundation put out a statement stating that arthritis patients who rely on methotrexate are reporting difficulty accessing it. So in this article too, in many of the articles I read about this, it doesn't matter what state you're in. Like in Michigan, if you go to a pharmacy,
a company is scared.
Yes, because
to get prosecuted.
Correct.
So even if they're producing it, yeah. So like, let's say they're producing it in a state where it doesn't matter, like New Jersey or something, but like it doesn't matter. There's somebody in Mississippi that's going to prosecute that company, and then that company be liable for. They don't really care about anything other than money, so they'd be liable for financially.
Right.
And then so they're just going to stop.
So they're stopped. Okay. And the irony here is it's affecting men with lupus and autoimmune diseases as well, and cancer.
Don't worry, they're going to fix it then. Yeah, they'll create a loophole in the law.
Yeah, because there's men involved.
Yeah, because men need it.
Because women don't matter.
Yeah.
I
guess, okay, never mind. You just completely solved that case. Maybe only men will be allowed to get prescribed it.
Maybe.
And because women will not be allowed to get prescribed it.
I could see that actually happening. But it's devastating for people that have this disease. It is a devastating, exhausting medical situation where you're being blocked access to health care just because that medication could be used for that, but it's not being prescribed for that.
Right.
So that's a bad thing also.
That is completely batshit insane and awful. And we're going back to the Middle Ages. Okay.
And then another thing I wanted to mention too, while we're still on the Supreme Court ruling issues, there was an article about U.S. agencies temporarily being barred from enforcing LGBTQ guidance. So basically, this is about trans people in sports, and Biden was trying to make it so that. I'll read it to you. It'll make more sense if I read this little paragraph. U.S. District Judge Charles Ackley Jr. in an order on Friday ruled that the 20 states' attorney generals who sued last August claiming the Biden administration directives infringe on states' rights to enact laws that, for example, prevent students from participating in sports based on their gender identity or requiring schools and businesses to provide bathrooms and showers to accommodate transgender people. The U.S. District Judge actually, I'm not pronouncing it probably right, was appointed by Donald Trump in 2020. He agreed with the Attorney General's argument that it's an overreach by the federal government and that it should be a state's issue. And he issued a temporary injunction that prevents the agencies from applying that guidance on LGBTQ discrimination until the matter can be resolved by the courts. So
and we know which way they're leaning.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
just a little update there.
Okay.
There was another news. We talk about being the news from the middle of the Mit. Well, something happened in Greenville yesterday.
What?
The FBI showed up at Die Castle.
Oh yeah, this relates to the supply chain issues.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that little article. I didn't really pay any attention to it hardly. But
so
I read it. I'm like, oh, whoa, hey, this is fascinating.
So all the news outlets at first were saying, ooh, the FBI investigation. There's an FBI investigation at Die Castle in Greenville. And the FBI officials confirmed it. But the warrant is sealed, so we don't know why they're there. So then one news outlet, WZZM 13 News, decided to comb around and try to find former employees to see what they thought. Mm-hmm. And many of them didn't want to be named, and they're saying, yeah, there's some really weird stuff going on in there, but we're not going to say what it is because we don't want fallout from it. Basically, they're afraid to talk, but they're saying it's really scary and horrible in there. Something to do with safety issues or something is what the employees are saying. We still don't know because, again, the warrant is sealed. And WZZM 13 mentions like 3 or 4 times during the paragraph where they're quoting the former employees that we don't know indeed what exactly they're there for. So, to be continued, we'll find out. Why were the FBI at Deck Castle in Greenville?
I thought I read through some comments online that there was something about, like, they're basically, like, counterfeiting, I don't know. There's something, a report about, they make aluminum wheels, right?
Yeah.
Or something, like, where they, like, making them and then stamping that they were made in China or something. Mm-hmm. And they're not supposed to do that. That's, like, a huge, big no-no, like, thing. And so, like, they're saying that they're making them for GM or whoever the heck they're making them for, different companies around the world. They're saying they were made in one factory and really they were made in another factory, which is like a big issue, right? Because there obviously is some sort of issues with supply chain still.
Yeah.
So they're trying to get around these issues. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they're being made in Greenville, if they're being transported from some other factory to the Greenville factory, or what the heck. Stuff's moving around and it's not. Yeah. Good. That's a rumor mill anyway, right?
Right.
But maybe there's more to it. Maybe there was a murder.
I don't know, but the employees make it sound
working there. Yeah,
sound like it was hell to work there, and that there's 2 different lines going on, and that people were crying on the line. They're working them too hard.
Yeah, I saw something about that too. Like you're importing workers.
Yeah.
From other countries.
Yeah.
And making them, like, work until they, like, pass out. That's another rumor, right? And it's like, holy shit.
We'll see.
I mean, the rumor mill is just crazy.
These are the rumors. We'll find out the truth eventually.
Right. I feel horrible for anybody that had to do work there like that, though.
Yeah, that's bad.
Whatever, how many hours a day, till they just,
So hopefully that gets worked out eventually to find out what exactly happened.
No more sweatshops in Greenville.
Correct.
We've been over this before. We got rid of the sweatshops
a
long time ago. We're not allowed to have any more sweatshops. They're done.
Oh my goodness.
It's illegal now. Okay. Stop it. Evil corporation. Jesus.
Oh my goodness. I don't remember if we talked about it or not last time, but we were talking about the Supreme Court also is making like it's chipping away at the separation between church and state. And there's a case in Maine where religious schools, it came down that the religious schools were going to get public tax dollars. So there's that going on as well.
Basically, I don't know if we mentioned that last week. We might have mentioned that last time. I can't remember. But yeah, they're basically now, in theory, everybody who has a religious school is super happy because taxpayers, us, we get to fund, our property taxes get to go now to fund religious schools, apparently, as well as public schools.
Yep.
So that's wonderful. Just what I want. Right, but apparently that's down the lowland. So I guess that's going to be happening, is happening. Maybe it already was happening. I don't know. But yeah, anyway.
Speaking of schools, something else came across my, social media or my news outlets or whatever. I can't remember where it came from, but there was a picture of basically a bulletproof steel box that's being put in schools, and it's called a safety pod. So it's like a steel box with rivets all around it, and it's supposed to fit like a classroom of kids and a teacher in it. Has a door with, it doesn't even look like, it has a weird like prison handle on it. And this is being used by some school districts in the nation to have in the school classroom all the time.
But how many people, my question is, how many people can fit in it?
It looks like it could fit a whole classroom, but you'd be like in line. Like it's so small that like it looks like you couldn't even sit down. You'd have to stand in there like a bunch of people in a box.
Okay. That just seems.
Yeah, let me just turn
hold
my
on,
computer.
Hold on. Hey, no. Yeah, that's all right.
Look at that.
I see it.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It kind of reminds me of like a freezer.
Yeah,
like a restaurant freezer.
Right, a walk-in freezer,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah, with vents in it. I have a problem with this, and I think most parents do. I mean, it's literally like...
So what happens when the guy with the gun gets the key and gets to just go open it up because he's going to be somebody who actually attends the school?
Correct.
And he might just have the key for some reason, and you can just open it up and...
Thank you for making my
shoot
point.
everybody like they're a fish in the barrel.
And then instead... We're just going to treat them like prisoners all day long, every day of the school year, and have that fear sitting in the classroom with them. I think this is...
So, like, maybe this is time again to go back to what your original hypothesis was when we first started the podcast 20 episodes ago. This is episode 21. So, like, I think it was the very first episode. Sorry, I'm banging.
Yes, we're mad!
Like, why aren't we doing old-timey Anne of Green Gables style one-room schoolhouses then with multiple generations? Why aren't we doing that? Why aren't we going back to... There are some things from the past that did work well, and that maybe is one of them, where different people of different ages had to be in the role of caretakers for people younger than them and to look after each other. To help each other to get back and from school, instead of having gigantic institutions with multiple stories and hundreds of kids.
Yeah.
Maybe we should just have country schools again. Like, what's wrong with that? That seems like not a bad idea. Then everybody feels like they're part of the community more.
Right, and it builds empathy and care for others.
Yeah.
And you don't get the Lord of the Flag groups going around the school anymore.
That's what happens with these 17-year-old kids, boys, that shoot up schools or whatever. They're Lord of the Flies shit. They just feel like they're bullied or
outcasts,
whatever, or they are the bully or whatever they are.
They can't get a girlfriend.
They are an outcast of some kind.
Yeah,
and like this, so they go insane and blow everybody away. But maybe if they were, like, you're right, if they were in like an old country type school, they would have somebody younger than them to care for, and they would actually learn how to feel empathy.
And they would have social interaction in a smaller. I mean, I'm sure. With populations in schools today, you'd probably end up with 3 or 4 17-year-olds in a classroom.
They had high populations back in the day, too. They had densely populated cities. But
the whole era in the classroom would be different because you would end up being the teacher's helper. You would be helping the younger kids learn. You would be learning social skills.
You would completely change the entire way.
You could not be an outcast in that.
No, but I mean, I'm just saying from the teacher's perspective too. Oh yeah. But I'm saying from you could have bullying and stuff like that still. There's definitely bullying in country schools.
Yeah.
But I think that like maybe like it got caught easier.
Yep.
And stopped easier because the teachers had more focus, could see what was going on. They could stop it. Instead of just having large groups. And then.
I would argue this would be great for inner city schools too that have all the metal detectors and police officers, because what you're basically doing is making kids rise to what you think of them.
Right.
You think they're going to... And the funny thing is, to me, it's not actually funny. Don't get me wrong, it is not funny at all. But I mean, the irony here is that most of the school shooters are not in inner city schools. They're in suburban areas.
I just want to interject here just to say that the majority of shootings happen in inner cities, I think. The majority of school shootings happen in inner cities. But you're talking about mass shootings.
Correct. I was speaking of the mass shootings.
Premeditated mass shootings, sprees. Really,
right. Which is what the safety pods are for, mass shooting sprees.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And my reference to the schools treating their kids like it's a prisoner event every day with their clear backpacks and their cops in the schools and their metal detectors is that shouldn't be happening. What should be happening is mental health resources, social service resources, so that parents that are having financial issues, can help. Oh, I know. We don't want anything hard.
Yeah, I know.
Instead, we want to build safety vaults, children vaults that we can put in the schools that we can make money off from. Because we are an evil capitalist society.
And they can make money off of more money off of that and provide more jobs For people
Don't mention the
with
germs.
just a high school diploma, that they hire more security guards.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a master's degree to be a security guard. So it's easier. Don't have to hire college-educated people and pay them more.
Yeah. Well, they don't pay teachers anything anyways, right?
No, but I mean...
they just should hire security guards to be teachers, because
actually, maybe you're
why
right.
bother?
Why bother? Then they don't have to have teachers have educations. They can just have people standing in there...
Staring at them. And just call it a daycare center.
Mm-hmm. What is the point, actually, at this point of school? I don't know.
The point of school in this country is to get workers to the job site. We learned this during the pandemic. That's the only reason why we have school. The original reason for school is gone.
To condition workers to go in every morning and leave every night.
And do what they're told.
To get to work. Yeah, it's to condition them.
Don't have a personality and do what you're told.
But, yeah, I mean, really, you kind of question what the whole purpose of anything is as far as, like, school goes in this case. Anyway.
Not to have them in a fishbowl and have somebody shooting at them.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know what the answer to this is, because they spend, kids every single year get the training multiple times a year about, shooters. And then one of them becomes the shooter, and they've had all that training every single year about where they're going and what they're doing and what they're supposed to do. So they know right where to go to shoot people. Yeah. So what is the thing that's going to change this? That's the question. It isn't a damn kid vault.
Nothing that they're trying. Yeah, you're right.
And I don't really think it's mental services completely either.
It's not completely.
We need social safety nets in our country. We need higher wages.
The whole picture.
Yeah, a whole bunch of things need to change.
Because you could argue that, like, a lot of these kids might be coming from a toxic situation at home. Maybe the toxic situation at home might be because of poverty-related. A lot of these kids are not poverty-ridden, though, so I don't know. But
social media?
It could be because one or more of the parents is constantly absent, too.
Yeah, and how many parents can spend time with their kids anymore? They have to be at work.
Both parents are constantly absent. Mm-hmm. It could be, you're right, social media. There's a million factors, right? You could make a whole movie about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
We, as a country, decided a long time ago that it was more important for adults to be in the factory floor or in a clerk job for the government or somewhere else outside of the home instead of taking care of children. We decided that a long time ago. Because we changed the wages so that you can't have a one worker household anymore.
I don't know that...
So the whole purpose of school is to contain the children while the workers go to work. Mm-hmm. That's all it's about. And that's the reality of it. Even though, for some reason, some people in certain parties are trying to just demolish the school system. I don't know how they think they're going to get their workers to work unless they're planning on employing the children, too.
Maybe.
Anyway, that's my rant.
I don't think they're even anything other than
I'm
just...
very angry about this.
Yeah.
I have children in school, and the idea... We always say that it will never happen here, but it will. You don't know where it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. That's the problem with this. Mm. Also, those comments about teachers, man, we know that you're valuable people and that you work your butts off and you're not paid enough, and it's just, I don't even know how to fix it. Anyways,
no one really knows.
We need quadruple the pay.
We have to change our culture.
Yeah. We need to be actually pro-life after they're out of the uterus. How about taking care of our neighbors?
Yeah, you're right.
How about taking care of the children that are here?
Yeah.
Oh, don't even get me started. Ben.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways.
I got you started.
You got me started.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, maybe we should move on to another subject now. The school shooting thing is gets you hot. Gets pretty hot.
It does. It does.
Gets me pretty hot too, though, actually.
How can it not? I mean, when your children come home and ask you where their soul goes and what happens to them if they get killed at school. Yeah, it hurts you in a place that you can't even put a finger on, but you're so hurting that you can't even believe it.
For sure.
Yeah. Yep. Anyways, anyways, so there is things. So for these Supreme Court rulings and stuff, please, again, listen to Strict Scrutiny podcast. They will keep you abreast of what's happening in the court and how it may affect you and how it'll affect other laws and things going on in the states and all kinds of things.
I think that we need to really, really focus on getting. I think we were talking about this earlier, not in the podcast, but outside the podcast. But we really need to focus on getting some candidates, Democrats, on the ballots around here. So it's like first and foremost, though, we need to vote in Michigan.
Yep.
On August 2nd.
Correct.
That's the primary, and then in November again for that one. That's going to be a huge, hugely important election. Mostly, if you're interested in the abortion issue at all,
which is privacy rights.
Due to in large part, due to you, Melanie, you got out there and got signatures for the petition for reproductive freedom. Right? That's what it's called? And it's because of that, and then they got the record number, right? Over 800,000, and I think they turned in over 700,000 signatures just going to be on the ballot in November.
Correct, and it's the most signatures ever garnered in a petition initiative in the state of Michigan's history. And
then on top of that, there's even another ballot initiative that got enough signatures to get on there. I believe it was like voter. Shoot, do you know the name of that one? It's one about really? I guess you don't know anything about it.
Yes.
So it's
trying to remember the name of it.
It's one just expanding voting rights, voting access. I think it expands it 9 days. Let me look it up here really.
Yeah.
Just get the name of it.
While he's doing that, I'm going to say that today is July 19th. It is Monday. It is the last day to register to vote in person or online on the Secretary of State's website to be able to vote. Just so you know. So if you're not registered or you're not sure, go on the Secretary of State's website, look up voting, and you can find the link to check your registration to make sure it's correct for where you live in case you've moved around in the last year or since the last election, to make sure you can vote in the correct precinct.
I got it here. Okay, this is called according to Ballotpedia here, Michigan Right to Voting Policies Amendment 2022. It's going to be a November 8th election. The initiative would amend the Michigan Constitution to provide voters with the right to vote without harassment, interference, or intimidation. So that's pretty much awesome. It also guaranteed military and overseas ballots postmarked by Election Day are counted. It also would require a photo ID or a signed affidavit to vote, so that's kind of nice. So if you forgot your photo ID, you could just sign an affidavit saying you are who you are.
Yep.
It would also authorize voters to drop off absentee ballots to drop boxes. It would allow 9 days of early voting, which is amazing, and require public disclosure of donations from private entities that were used to pay for elections or audits. So that's also going to be on the ballots. That's huge right there.
Yep.
It's going to expand the voters, not politicians, one from last time that did the independent commission. I mean, really, it's just expanding access to voting, early voting. In addition to, everybody can vote absentee now. What they did last time, they're just going to add on early voting. They're doing all these other things that we already mentioned. But I just think that that's amazing. Hopefully I'm sure that has a very good chance of passing. I'm sure the reproductive freedom ones does too, assuming people actually get out to the polls and vote.
Yeah, you can't rely on your neighbors to do this. You need to get out.
Yeah, if everybody just goes, then they'll pass handily. But if you're just lazy and you just assume that it's going to pass, that's heck no, it will not. It's ironic how that works, but you gotta go.
Do not get anesthetized by the news telling you that everything's going to be okay. You need to get down there.
No, it is not okay. Yeah.
You have to consider every single voting issue right now is so important that pretend you're the only one that's vote's going to count and go out there and do it.
You're on I feel like this is where the Democrats have the side with the numbers, but those numbers are meaningless if they're just completely apathetic.
Yep.
The Democrats have the numbers, but so many elections, it just doesn't matter. Numbers mean nothing. I mean, I seem to remember like people like Rick Snyder and then John Engler and all these governors. They would win like with like 12% of the state's voters voting for them. It's just a ridiculously low turnouts.
Yep.
In so many elections, and that's just I know maybe it's not as bad as it was then. Hopefully it won't be, but it still can be. I think these off year elections, like this is not a presidential election. It's just this sort of middle election here, and yeah.
And I want to say, people my age and older, growing up, we thought that our votes didn't matter and we couldn't do anything.
Yeah, and you got
to
people like
things.
Russell Brand telling you that.
Yeah, and you are wrong.
Like
every single vote counts right now. If we don't get people out there to cast their ballots, dude, you are going to lose the ability to do it if you don't use it. Use it or lose it, man.
Yeah,
that's where we're at.
He just wrote a
Russell Brand
a few years ago talking about
Jesus.
And then now I don't know. Oh my god, I know. Like I actually liked the guy for like 2 minutes, and then I'm like, oh my god, he's insane. I think that maybe his ultimate goal is to foment the actual revolution by completely causing everybody to just drop out of society or something.
I don't
and
even
blow
know.
it all up. I don't know, but yeah, he is way out there. Anyway, sorry, I've been saying anyway a lot on this podcast. I keep on I'll just go on all day about something like this if I don't stop myself.
Yep. Okay, so we need to talk about how to get out there and do something. So, first of all, I want to say to fellow liberal people out in this county, if you think you're the only one, then all the other liberals also think they're the only one, because we're all not putting signs in our front yard about who we are, and we think that everybody else with a yard sign is not, that there is no one else. So, if you think that, you're wrong, and we need you to get out and vote. We need canvassers, election inspectors. You can't sit by and let someone else do it. We all have to get out and do it like we're the only voter. So I wanted to talk about Montcalm County Democrats. They have meetings the third Monday of each month. You can go to their Facebook page, Dems of Montcalm. They're currently endorsing Frank LaFata, District 91 State House, and Kathy Bresnahan. She's also having a party on Friday, Meet the Candidate Party. You can find her on Facebook as well. The Montcalm County Dems are looking for volunteers for the Danish Fest and Old Fashioned Days, for marchers and people that want to sit in the Democrat booth. They also need help organizing fundraisers and help getting the word out with candidates, and they need all hands on deck. So if you're a liberal in the county, please contact them via the Facebook page, come to the meetings, and let's roll up our sleeves, because this race this year is pivotal. The election this year is pivotal. So if for our local Michigan,
like, most liberals too also can agree on the current politics. I think that out here at least, there's probably some pretty big differences between different types of Democrats. We need to have a broader banner we can all get behind, and I think we all can get behind pro-choice. We all want that. We pretty much, and that pretty much goes without saying. But I mean, I think the gun thing, we have to be maybe a little bit more sensitive and a little bit more open to that's just my opinion. Maybe we have to be hey, it's okay to have a gun for hunting. I know guns are awful, but it's okay to have a gun for hunting, and you can still be a Democrat and be pro-gun. Mm-hmm. Just because you're a Democrat doesn't mean you have to hate guns. And that I think is something that, especially if I'm going to be out there talking to anybody about it, I need to keep that and be mindful of that. That's something, we got to look at our local area here and how it is. You know what I mean? I don't know, what do you think? Maybe I'm wrong.
I think that we need to speak from the heart. I think that we need to be honest about and look in the mirror at ourselves, no matter what party we're in. And we need to speak, stand by what we're saying. And, people have made I don't know.
I'm not talking about compromising your beliefs. I'm just talking about how I feel. I'm talking about myself, really.
Yeah.
I need to just be instead of just being fuck guns, which I could take them or leave them. I'm a hunter. I own guns. But if I thought it would save lives, I'd let them go, But not everybody agrees with me about that.
Right.
And that's for damn sure, And I have to be more open. But there might be some people with very liberal values other than that gun thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have to be more open about that. Hey, they might believe in they might believe in universal health insurance, and they might believe in a UBI, universal basic income, but they also, there's no way in hell you're going to ever take their guns in their mind either. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that affects us more in rural areas, but I think that the Democrats need to have a broader or not, we need to include everybody.
Be more inclusive and stop the social bitching. And if people have made a mistake,
the canceling thing,
let them make the mistake and continue on, sir.
Right.
Because the Republicans embrace everyone from small towns to big fat cats in New York.
They'll turn into prosecuted what they consider people being canceled by the Democrats into heroes on their side.
We need to stop persecuting our own people.
Yeah, and the Democrats are really good at eating their own. They're just good at kicking their own asses.
They like to eat themselves. Yeah,
they
eat their children.
Oh man, you made one mistake.
Yeah, stop it.
You're a Democrat and you own a gun, or you shot a deer. You're a horrible person. Go to hell. You're not allowed to be a Democrat. And Republicans take that. They take those people that were cast out of the Democratic Party, take that bitterness, too, and take that canceling thing and use it to their advantage.
Yep.
I think. And we don't want to, I just don't want to see that. I think it keeps happening.
Yep.
Like, if you don't feel like you're smart enough, you were talking about this earlier.
Yeah.
If you don't feel like you're smart enough to be a Democrat, you're going to be a Republican.
Right.
They'll embrace you.
We got to stop that shit too, people. Mm-hmm. We cannot be Harvard to people around here. You need to be talking like you're from here.
Yeah.
Be just simple. You don't need to use the big words. You don't need to use the big studies or the statistics.
Yeah.
Talk about how you feel to your neighbor, because you're going to find out that there's more similarities, and we could actually garner more votes if you talk turkey instead of talking bullshit.
Yeah. Talking about bullshit hypotheticals that don't even affect people's lives. I mean, that's something that the
Democrats... And bring up Michigan.
Bring up Michigan. And
we're
also,
not a flyover state.
If you have a problem with the Democratic Party, we can change the Democratic Party.
And the only way to do that is to get involved.
That's, if the big issue, I think the big issue in Michigan, mainly for the last generation or so, has been jobs being exported to other countries.
Correct.
From here. Mm-hmm. And the Democrats have just sort of let that happen, which is the dumbest fucking thing they ever possibly could have done.
Yep.
Right? And that's, I think, the key thing.
They overlook rural voters.
We need to change, not just rural, but even just people in the
center of the country.
All the people in the center of the state, though, worked in factories in Lansing and in places like that. You know what I mean? And, that's, they just moved those jobs away. And, we can't, the Democrats failed. They failed people in the Midwest in general, and they lost the Midwest. By and large, and they're paying for that at the polls, and they just seem to not be able to realize that. I mean, they've lost Indiana permanently. Indiana will never go Democrat ever again. They've lost, Ohio is on the verge. I think it went Republican last time, didn't it? I don't remember, but it's in Michigan is Democrat. It goes back and forth. Michigan does now, and it never ever would have in a million years. 30, 40 years ago, it would have been solid blue. So, except for Reagan, of course. I mean,
correct.
But,
I think that, too, another problem Democrats have is we're too willing to go, well, let's try to talk across the aisle. No, we need to get a fist out.
Yeah, and that's something else that they were talking about.
For core Democratic things, we need to push it through.
Obama was a great president, but that's what he would do a lot. He would try to work with the other side, and they just saw him as weak. Mm-hmm. Every time he would try to reach an olive branch out, try to reach across the aisle, they just saw this its weakness. We're going to take advantage of it, and screw him, and it just kept happening over and over.
This is like Star Trek. Man, it's like the Mr. different aliens on Star Trek arguing.
Yeah.
I mean, geez, oh, Pete.
They just have the Republicans had a completely different philosophy. They're we're going to fight and win at all costs.
Right.
And the Democrats thought it was the 70s and we were all just kumbaya or something.
Everything's already solved.
That's just all... we're all just how get along. We just have to just sort of and that's not how I guess from what, I guess it's not quite like that situation currently, but that was kind of how the Obama administration was. Anyway, the Democrats need to be a bit more hardcore I think you're right there. As far as like, yeah, and if you hate guns, just say you hate guns, and at least people will accept that, right?
And if you're worried about the Supreme Court, pack the court. Threaten them that you're going to add 40 more liberal justices to it, and I bet you they'll stop their crap.
That's what they're expecting.
That's what they need.
They believe
that's what they would do.
That's what they would do themselves.
Yeah.
So that's what they're expecting the Democrats to do. The Democrats just never do it because they just think we're all supposed to be all good, and we're not all good. You know,
we're pushovers.
Yeah, apparently. So,
and that ends today. Yeah. Get yourself down. Get yourself involved. It's very important. If we don't do this now, our state could be red forever. Our state could be conservative. Women could lose more rights. People of color will lose their rights. LGBTQ will lose their rights. There won't be free education for everyone. It will be a religious sect version of education, since that church and state separation is going away. This is real. This is not a dry run here. This is the real deal. And we don't have time to waste, and you don't have any time to sit on the sidelines anymore. Think about it this way. If you sit and don't do anything, you didn't help your neighbor. You didn't help yourself. You're actually helping the conservatives take over. Think about that for a second. That's what I want to say.
Well,
I'm fired up.
We've become very, very partisan, haven't we?
Yes.
In the last, well, obviously, for obvious reasons. I think, I feel like when I started this podcast, I was trying really hard to, be like, hey, we can all work it out. But now abortion is illegal in large portions of the country. Mm-hmm. So you know what? The shots have been fired by the other side.
Yep.
You know, they did it. They pulled the trigger. It's done. There's no more peace now. It's now the hippies versus the popo. It's versus it's like we're back to just straight up 1968 Chicago riot shit. We're just we're just back to just these old cultural battles are back.
Yeah.
Because they just made it made it like it's the 50s or 60s again.
But the thing, what my biggest pet peeve is people click a link on their internet, or they make a little tweet, or they make a little comment, or they share a little thing, and they think they did something. Well, let me tell you something, kids out there, and by kids I mean people my age too. Kids, you're acting like children. Get your shoes on and march your butt down and start helping out. You can't do it online. Like the reproductive rights petition, you couldn't sign that online, let me tell you. You had to walk your butt to a city and sign it.
It probably doesn't hurt to express yourself online. I mean,
that's good to get the word out. But when you want to actually get something done that is legislative or legal or help someone get elected, you have to go door to door. You have to talk to your neighbors. You have to get out there and do it. You have to run the petitions. You have to do the legwork. Mm-hmm. And grassroots is legwork, man. Civil rights movement never would have happened if people hadn't gotten their shoes on. Neither would the right to vote for women if the women hadn't gotten their white dresses on and took to the streets. And this is the time. The time is now.
Yeah, it does seem as if there's a pretty big change with this stuff. And I'm hearing those calls. Now, you obviously, I'm glad that you're doing this, but and you're taking action. You're doing a ton of stuff. This is amazing. But I think that also I'm hearing these calls from other sources more and more now, not just podcasts, but also YouTube channels, various, just all over. Oh wow, we better organize and figure out what the hell is going on. People on the left need to be as organized. More organized than the people on the right, which the people on the right are very organized.
Yeah, they organize.
They have clear goals
at kitchen tables, inside of churches,
but they
not in boardrooms.
But they also have unlimited money coming from the top.
Yep.
That's it. Their organizational structure is not grassroots. That's what it's like a pyramid. It's very much top.
They give the grassroots people money.
Yeah, the people, frankly, the DeVosses and families like that, they just can give millions of dollars to just start organizations and create organizations that just make their wills happen.
Where are the Democratic Patreons, people? How many of you are going to support this? How many are you going to help the grassroots people with money and allocate resources and help with legal fees if they're protesting things. How many of you are going to do that? We need that.
And like
we need you
there's
too.
Conspiracies about liberal billionaires like George Soros on the right. Like there's conspiracies, but in reality, there isn't much activism from the top, from the elites. They're just they're happy to just sort of see things because all this benefits them. Mm-hmm. Really, I mean, they might not. They kind of like think, oh yeah, but they can still get an abortion. They can get an abortion in Europe. They can fly to Europe on their private jet. They don't give a shit. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They're never gonna have these kinds of problems. They don't live among us mortals, right? So they don't care. So I mean, really, the Democrats have to rely on the hard work and people from the ground. You know what I mean, right? And they always have, right? Like it took that.
I need to say this too, like. As a Native person, I'm going to give you a little secret that nothing ever changes unless you take it. So you can't think that some fairy is going to come along and bring you back your Roe v. Wade or going to guarantee your voting rights forever or get your privacy rights back or any of that. You have to do the work. And speaking of elites, the only elite person who was ever running in the billionaire circles that ever did anything for regular people, Jane Fonda. She's been out there.
Billionaire,
she's rich. She was married to What's-His-Toes from Turner Network or whatever.
Oh yeah,
she was in the billionaire circle.
You're right.
But she actually, gets her boots on and does, Friday.
Yeah.
What is that? Friday. What is it called?
Oh, she's quite a divisive figure.
Yeah, I know.
She's quite a divisive.
And I'm going to say I love the woman very much, and Grace and Frankie, and also because she's helped with fighting the pipeline issues in Minnesota and in the Dakota pipeline.
Interestingly, we had seen an uptick in stickers on trucks saying to bring back the pipeline.
Yeah, that was locally, and that was so weird, and they don't even know what they're talking about.
But I am seeing it happen, though. There's
Let's
a lot
have
of
polluted water.
Pro-pipeline people, apparently.
Which, again, is because corporations come in and convince people.
I'm not sure what that means, actually.
With advertising. They don't understand it either.
Like you said the other day, like we're seeing more Confederate... You're seeing more Confederate flags again.
The Confederate flags came down, and now they're up again.
Confederate flags, and now, they went away, and now they're coming back.
Yep.
I don't know if it's like a trend. Do people... All right, here's a question if anybody knows this. Is there like Confederacy meetings or like Klan meetings or something happening where they discuss like how many Confederate flags need to be flying and like when to fly the Confederate flags or like
when are they at half mast?
Yeah,
that's what I want.
Confederate flags go at half mast. Like does anybody know? Like I don't know. Like who decides when to fly your Confederate flag? How high to fly it at?
Is this coming from Fox
News? Is there
News?
A flag law? Like there's rules for the flags. Right? Like American flag. Is there like other? I wonder if there's like another set of rules for the Confederate flag.
Probably.
David Duke has to make a call, wave it. I wonder if he has like a website.
Wave his hat.
No, like seriously, like the Stars and Stripes has like a Stars and Stripes website for the flag. You can know whether it's half mast. I wonder if there's like a KKK website that's like David Duke is announcing whether the Confederate flag needs to be flown at a certain height or what. Oh God, I don't know. With that, we probably better start getting it wound up here. I think the kids are probably worried about us. We've been in here for a while.
Yeah, but we needed to. And
really need to rant, yeah.
We may also start just posting things on Facebook in the interim between podcasts because a lot of times with our kids' schedules and stuff, we cannot get online for a podcast in a timely manner when things are happening. So you might be seeing more posts from Ben and I as things are happening on the ground to update you. So pay attention to our Facebook page. Again, it's going to change.
I think we're going to try.
Red State Blues.
I'm going to see if I can make it happen.
Red State Blues, people.
Ben and Melanie show is still going to go, but it's going to be called Red State Blues.
However, our email will be the same.
Yeah, we're going to keep... Well, we could probably get an email going, too.
Yeah.
I hear somebody screaming. Okay. All right.
Baba Pig Robin.
Yes.